everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, spoiler season is rolling on it. Oh my gosh, Wizards, what are you doing? What have you done? This is happening. Let's jump into it. So, Clarion, Conqueror. This is a card that I am definitely going to be seeing at tables, unfortunately. And it's going to be like, well, it's fine. And it's going to be like, oh, it's just absolutely obnoxious. Oh my gosh, here we go. Dragon players out there, take note if you want to get targeted when you play this, because my goodness. A 3/3 dragon with flying for 3 mana in total. But again, Dragon decks, turn 2, play this, see what happens. Oh my gosh. Activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. Okay, so this does a lot of things. This does absolutely just destroys many things out there. I mean, this is like Collector Oof, but well, on steroids. This is Collector Oof, but it is an incredibly, well, relevant creature type being a dragon, and yeah, again, like a 3/3 flyer for 3, like back in the day it was like, what's the downside? And nowadays it's like, well, it better have 18 million text things on it, and yeah, here we go. So this one obviously is a blanket statement, though it does hit everything, including your own things. Yes, okay, but here's the thing. If you are playing this, you are in a dragon deck, which means that you're probably not playing mono white dragons, I wouldn't assume. Maybe you are, and if you are, awesome, good for you. Cool. Usually, in a dragon deck, I mean, typically, like, let's just say Dragon, the most popular one out there, I believe, that's 5 color. Okay, luckily, Miriam, it doesn't have access to this, okay? But that is 5 color. So you have access to green, meaning that you are most likely ramping with lands. So you don't really care about artifact activations, typically, right? I am saying typically, not always, but you're not counting on mana rocks. Your opponents might be counting on mana rocks, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, turn 2 with my Dragon deck, Clarion Conqueror, ha ha ha. And your opponent's like, oh, well, now I can't ramp. Good for me. Also, again, creatures can't have activated abilities, planeswalkers can't be activated. Yeah, it just takes out all the activated abilities, and many commander decks out there, I would say, like, are built around the commander, and many commanders out there have, like, an activated ability that they want to activate. Now you can't. I would say that there's a lot of dragons out there that don't really depend. A lot of dragon decks out there. I mean, just go look through your own dragon deck if you have one. And just count how many, like, activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers. How many cards that actually have that you even care about. Probably not all that many. So yeah, this is a card that is definitely going to see play in, like, Staxier decks out there. But of course, just like, yeah, I mean, as a quote-unquote utility card, kind of like hate card-ish, it's going to see play in some Dragon decks out there. And again, it's going to be like a eye-rolly turn 2 play where it's like, Wizards, why did you make that a relevant creature type? Why? And again, like I mentioned Collector Roof earlier, but that Collector Roof, I think, just hits artifacts. This hits 3 things. My gosh. Shut down so many things. Gross. Wizards, why? No. Okay, let's move on. Static Snare, enchantment of Flash for 5 mana in total, cost 1 less cast for each second creature. When this enchantment enters, exile target artifact creature your opponent controls till its shit leaves the battlefield. I mean, very specific. If you do have, I guess, if you do have, like, an Enchantress deck, this is one that you could definitely consider, because it is removal, temporary removal, like the, like, stasis kind of removal, essentially. But, essentially, again, this one just costs as little as 1 mana, which can be absolutely great. And keep in mind, again, it does say for each attacking creature. It's not each creature that's attacking you. It's not, like, on an opponent's turn. Like, it can be, you can just be like, okay, I attack with 4 creatures. Awesome, good for me. By the way, get rid of that for 1 mana. Cool. So yeah, definitely Enchantress deck could consider it, or any of those kind of stasis-ish decks. Wizards, again, not being fair to Johnny's. Not being fair. Being mean to Johnny's and saying opponent controls. Come on, Wizards. Come on. Let Johnny's Johnny. Let us target our own things. Okay, moving on. We've got Monastery Messenger with a very confusing mana value. It's not that confusing. It's just like, yeah, there's a lot going on there. 2/3 Bird Scout Flying Vigilance for 2 or a blue, 2 or a red, 2 or a white. Basically, either, I mean, between 6 and 3 mana. There you go. When this creature enters, put 2 1 target non-creature anomaly card from your graveyard on top of your library. Yeah, I mean, very specific decks that care for the top of your library. Cool. Other than that, though, yeah, it's not like you're getting, like, card advantage. You're just kind of, like, slow recursion in a way. So, cool. There you go. Other than that, yeah, interesting. Moving on. Riverwheel Sweep. Again, exact same mana value there. Sorcery. For that same mana value, I'm not going to say it again. Tap target creature, put 3 stun counters on it. Nice. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn and play that card. Okay, so this is a pretty cool card. It is sorcery speed, and that's the main downside to this one. That being said, you might still consider it again for specific decks that really care about tapping down creatures. Or, of course, decks that proliferate. This is just basically like a stun lock on that creature. That creature is never getting untapped. I mean, already just tapping something down and then making it have to go 3 turns, essentially, for it to actually untap, that is massive. Being like, yeah, no, you don't get untapped. No, you don't get untapped. Don't get untapped again. So, yeah, you can basically take a creature out of the game in a way with this. And again, if you've got proliferation, they're just, like, permanently out of the game. There is no coming back from that. So, again, like the kind of counter manipulation decks, consider it. Other than that, yeah, I guess if you really care about impulse draw, but this is very specific, again, being in Jeskai 3 colors. It's going to be a bit more difficult for most decks to consider. And again, it is sorcery speed, so unfortunately, yeah, it's less flexible. Next up, we've got Host of the Hereafter with some really cool art. A 2/2 zombie warlock for 4 mana in Golgari. This creature enters with 2 counters on it. Cool, good for you. When this creature or another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, put its counters up to 1 target creature you control. Sweet. Okay, so this is kind of, oh gosh, well, like the obelisk-ish, kind of, but like on a creature. And again, it doesn't specify, like it comes up with those 2 counters on it, right? +1 counters. It doesn't specify what kind of counters it has to be. This creature or creature control dies, the counters on it, you can put it onto one other creature control. Cool. So I guess in a really weird way, if you've got a persist creature and an undying creature, you could probably go infinite with some kind of a sacrifice outlet strategy shenanigans. Fun times, cool. Outside of that, though, like, this is a really good card for a counters build, though, because, obviously, I mean, if a full board wipe happens, oh darn, but just say if you start losing miscellaneous creatures here and there, you're not losing the counters, though. You can just redistribute those, essentially, and just keep that going. So, yeah, there's definitely probably some combos that work with this, but other than that, it's just a solid card. Also, like, a relevant creature type with zombie, warlock, sure, not really. But yeah, zombie, sorry for everyone out there who's got a warlock tribal deck, my bad. But yeah, zombie, being able to be like, oh, okay, cool, zombie decks, but no, this is in Golgari, and typically zombie decks don't have green. So, there you go. That being said, yeah, a really good card for counters decks. Again, it doesn't have to be +1 counters, be any kind of counters, but being able to distribute those, that is really, really cool. There you go. Moving on. Effortless Master. Look at me stand on this sword. 4/3 Orc Monk with Vigilance and Menace for 4 mana in Izzet. This creature enters with 2 counters on if you cast 2 more spells this turn. Yeah, I mean, it's a solid card for probably more limited. You know, like, I guess, like, keyword soup decks could consider it, though. It does have 2 relevant keywords. Outside of that, though, probably more limited card. You're not just like, well, everyone look out the commander table. I'm paying 4 mana after I cast 2 other spells, and I've got a 6/5 Vigilance Menace. Yeah. And now I'm going to win the game. No, oh, it didn't. I didn't win the game. Okay, yeah, more limited. Moving on. Coordinate Maneuver, instant for 2 mana in white. Choose 1. Deals damage to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker, destroy target enchantment. This one is an interesting removal piece because, again, it is 2 mana, so it's low to the ground for the most part. Instant speed, quite nice. You can destroy an enchantment, but instead of it being like the normal, like, okay, like destroy an enchantment or artifact and plus like a little other benefit, it's like, no, destroy an enchantment. Okay, cool. Or take out a creature or planeswalker, most likely, I should say. Again, it's basically the number of creatures you control. So, if you have a deck that has a go-wide strategy and you can consistently get a good amount of creatures in play, absolutely consider it. It is a good flex removal spell. Are going to be times where you're like, oh, yeah, I got 3 creatures in play. That creature has 5 toughness. I can't take it out. Uh-oh. Yes, there's going to be those times as well. And, of course, keep in mind, too, that, yeah, I mean, it's dependent on the creatures. You can, like, you know, like, okay, like, after blocks, you know, something's been dealt damage, then you do the extra damage to it, too. There's going to be some feel-bads for it for you. We're like, oh, no, I wish I didn't have this and had other removal. But, yeah, it's still flexible enough that, yeah, the right decks can definitely consider it as well. I mean, gets rid of potentially, you know, one of 3 things. Planeswalker, creature, enchantment. There you go. Next up, though, Spectral Denial. Denied. Instant for X and A blue. The spell costs 1 less cast for each creature control, power 4 or greater. Counter target spell controller pays X. Yeah, I mean, this is a solid counter spell. There's definitely better ones out there. Like, if you've got, like, a big creature strategy, you could definitely consider it because it could just be a 1 mana, like, oh, I've got, like, 4, you know, creatures that have power 4 or greater in play. It could be a 1 mana, just, oh, yeah, I counter that. Yeah, because you can't pay 4. Good for you. So, yeah, there's definitely worse counter spells out there. This is, like, a reinvented version of an older counter spell that just adds in that, like, power requirement there, too. So, it's quite nice. Is it going to see a ton of play? No, I mean, it's for specific decks. Again, if you've got a, like, oh, I get a ton of powerful creatures out strategy, great. Consider it, because again, it can just be a great 1 mana, counter any spell for just 1 mana. That's great. But if not, yeah, maybe like an X spell deck where you get benefits from casting X spells. Outside of that, probably nothing else. Moving on. Finally, Dragonologist, because that's definitely a word. I study dragons. Good for you. 1/3 human wizard for 3 mana in blue. When this creature enters, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant sorcery or dragon card from among them, put it into your hand. The rest bottom your library in a random order. Untapped dragons draw up hexproof. Okay, so this is one of those cards where dragon decks have absurd amounts of options, like an insane amount of options. So it's hard to find a spot in a dragon deck when you are, well, a creature that is not a dragon. There are definitely ones that can make the cut. Does this make the cut, though? I think it actually might. It might for the right dragon deck out there. Because obviously, it kind of replaces itself right away. Like, if you have a dragon deck, chances are incredibly likely that you're probably going to hit an instant sorcery or dragon off the top of your library on that ETB. 6 cards, that's a good chance of hitting one of those 3 things. You might even have some options, which is great. If you have, like, I've got a dragon deck, but most of it is lands and enchantments, then no. What's going on with your dragon deck? Anyways, yeah, you're probably going to be able to hit something, though. And it is an ETB, so it can be used and abused for certain decks out there. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But of course, untapped dragon should have hexproof. That's pretty huge. I mean, hexproof Wizards doesn't throw that word around lightly anymore, like at all. Like, I'm surprised to see it on this. Usually it'd be like, dragons you control have ward 10. And it's like, okay, that's the exact same thing as hexproof, basically. But yes, I mean, they would put ward 2 or something like that on this as a more reasonable amount. Hexproof just straight up means, yeah, you're not touching my dragons, and I can actually target my dragons, which is great. So, being able to target them with, pump effects, whatever, save effect, that kind of stuff as well. Or, yeah, just attaching equipment to them. Yeah, it's better than Shroud, obviously, for a reason, and we don't see it very often anymore with Hexproof because players like to be able to interact, and it doesn't let you interact. So, being able to just keep your dragons back, or if they have Vigilance, obviously, that's great. But, yeah, being able to keep your dragons back when you're, like, afraid they're going to get targeted, cool. Or just say an inherent way to just keep it, cool, good. So, yeah, a very good, again, card replacement. I mean, technically like card advantage, but like card replacement, replacing this card plus protection for your dragons. It could make the cut for some dragon decks out there. Outside of that, I mean, this could, I guess, see play technically like in like an ETB deck. Like if your commander is a dragon and it's an ETB deck, then sure, there you go. There's my scenario for that. Okay. Or like if you've got Morphon, if you got enough instant sorceries. I don't know. Probably mostly just dragon decks to be considering this one, but yeah, it definitely is one that could see some good play, could make an impact, and could definitely be like, oh, they just played that? Oh no, well now I can't target the dragons. Oh gosh, the dragons are coming. Oh no, they've got that one dragon out that just stops me from activating any abilities. Oh no, dragons everywhere, no! And with that, this episode is coming to a close. As always, comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.